The Nintendo 64 was a video game with more powerful hardware than its competitors at the time. However, many cool games that were released for the PlayStation, for example, didn't appear for the big N platform. This was due to the difficulty that game makers found to develop games for the console. In this video, we will remember some fighting games that could have been released for the Nintendo 64. And before starting the list, I would like to remind you that I am a very casual gamer, so if I talk bullshit here, correct me in the comments. Number 1. Let's start with Tekken. The series actually highlighting Tekken 3, which has gained new characters like Eddie Gordo, which is my favorite. The ease of play and execution of the movements conquered from amateur players to the most experienced. Because of this ease, it ended up balancing the victories in the battles between friends. Number 2. XMen vs Street Fighter. The game was successful in the arcades and was marked by being the first crossover launched by Capcom. In the future, it would be released for Saturn, which I remember was praised for being very faithful to the arcades. But on the PlayStation, the game was much lower than arcade machines. I had a PlayStation at the time. The game was bad and the slowness didn't go unnoticed when a super move was applied. At PlayStation, it was also not possible to switch players in the middle of the fight. And for the Nintendo 64, with all that hardware capability to run the game, it has not been released. Number 3. The King of Fighters. Did you notice that there was a lack of 2D fighting games for the Nintendo 64? The series was present on the arcades, Saturn and PlayStation, and not on the Nintendo 64. Number 4. Darkstalkers. Another great classic arcade series, which was missing on the Nintendo 64. In addition to the arcades, the games were released for Saturn and PlayStation. Once again, the Nintendo console was dropped. Number 5. Street Fighter Alpha 3, a game released by Capcom for the arcades. I first met this game on the PlayStation. In the arcades, unfortunately, I didn't play, only using emulators a few years later. It would be great if it had also been released for the Nintendo 64. Number 6. Super Jam Fighters, another game I also met by the Sony console. I had several hours of fun with this very funny game that makes you laugh all the time. Also missing in the Nintendo 64 console. Seven. Marvel Superheroes vs Street Fighter. I met through the machines in bars I frequented in the late 90s. A game that marked my childhood a lot. Later I also met on the PlayStation, but because of the hardware limitation of the console, the game was not so good. If it were released for the Nintendo 64, the game's performance would be similar to that of the arcades. What do you think? 8. Marvel vs Capcom. This was also released in the home version through the PlayStation, and once again the PlayStation version was not that good, precisely due to limitations in character changes during the fight. I wonder what this game would look like if it had been released for the Nintendo 64 as well.
Round 2.
9. Street Fighter X Plus Alpha. I only met this game from the console, and I never saw it in the arcade version. It was another fantastic Capcom game that didn't show up on the Nintendo 64. 10. Samurai Shodown. To end the list, This 3D version of the game would look good on the Nintendo's console, but unfortunately it was not released either. That's it guys, comment if you had a Nintendo 64 and missed the other fighting games on the console.